Hello, this is Bill Steffen. I have evacuated the man cave and moved up to the three-season porch here because the weather's been so nice, but getting kind of cool. Got a frost advisory in effect during the early morning. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But some more topsy-turvy temperatures at Lake Michigan from 2 to 3 p.m. The temperature at the Muskegon Beach went down just about 13 degrees. In the middle of the afternoon, the temperature just dropped by 13 degrees. From about 58 down to 45, and that was because the wind changed direction. The wind was out of the east-northeast, coming off the warmer land, and then the wind shifted to come from the west, coming in off the cooler waters of Lake Michigan. So that's why we had such a drop like that. And at the same time, the Muskegon Airport, which is only about 3.5 miles away, was 63. So compare the 45 close to the beach there to the 63 at the airport. That's quite a difference. So pretty amazing. And if you're down in Holland for the big parade, that's the way it looked as the parade broke up. A lot of people down there. At 3 p.m., the Holland Airport was 61 with an east wind at 12 miles an hour. At 3 p.m., same time, the Holland Buoy, which is out there now, 45 degrees with the west wind at 16 miles an hour. So if you'd imagine here, you got this east wind coming at 12 miles an hour and a west wind at 16 miles an hour. You got all this air coming together. It can't go down into the ground, so it starts to lift. And sometimes when you have a really moist air mass, you can get a thunderstorm to develop in a situation like that. But not so today, because this is super dry air, and you can lift dry air all day without getting any thunderstorms, and in fact, not even any clouds. But nice day for all the kids. The Kinder Parade was today over in Holland. Well, we've had this frost advisory in effect during the night. This runs till 8 a.m. in the morning this Friday. And in the lighter blue color, it's a frost advisory. And in the darker blue color off to the north, that's Oceana and Owego and Mecosta counties to the north, and that goes all the way up to the Mac Bridge into the UP. And that is a freeze warning, and we certainly expect freezing conditions, and especially in some of those low spots to the north that have sandier soil, places like the thermometer at Clare and also at Baldwin, Clare County. They're certainly seeing some frosty conditions here during the early morning. Temperatures should warm up pretty quickly. We're coming back to talk about the weather for the weekend. That's straight ahead. Michelle?
And Complete Care Concierge has us covered as a Bill Steffen sponsor, and they have you covered too. They are the fast, efficient, and affordable cleaning service serving all of West Michigan. They clean houses, apartments, condominiums. They can clean your rental. They can clean your office. They can do special projects. They have you covered. If you're wondering if they serve your area, they do. They serve all of West Michigan. 616-264-1397. 616-264-1397, and here's a word from our other sponsor.
When your home needs help, you might not know where to start. Why not ask Ace? We're always here to help with Ace Handyman Services. Our talented craftsmen handle everything from drywall and carpentry to doors and kitchens. We're the neighbors you trust to get the job done right. Let's get started. Book your handyman appointment today. Ace Handyman Services, bringing helpful to your home.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
And we certainly want to thank Complete Care Concierge and also Ace Hardware Handyman for helping us out here and paying some of the bills. We should be partly to mostly sunny here through Monday. Chance of frost here is just for this early Friday. I would imagine early Saturday morning in places like Baldwin, there could be a touch of frost, but that would be pretty rare. Seasonable temperatures here for the next several days. Average high temperatures are mid to upper 60s. It will be cooler near Lake Michigan, and great weather expected for Tulip time and the Riverbank runs. That's kind of neat. In terms of heavy thunderstorms, southeastern U.S. is where to find them during the day today, but most of them will not be severe. We just have a marginal risk in effect here for the area from southeast Virginia to Florida and back toward Mississippi. And there could be a thunder shower sneaking into the western UP. Not a sure thing up there, but no rain expected here in lower Michigan this Friday. Saturday, there is a very incredibly slight chance of a shower, mainly a sprinkle, Saturday morning. I wouldn't worry about it at all. In terms of severe weather Saturday, there's only one little marginal area down there in southeast Georgia and northern Florida. A few scattered thunder showers elsewhere throughout the south will not be severe, and a few scattered thunder showers up in the mountain west. But all in all, a pretty quiet period here. There were 23 reports of severe weather on Wednesday. That's a pretty low total here for the second week of May. There were 15 reports of wind damage and 8 reports of hail 1 inch in diameter or greater. So that's a little bit on severe weather. Activities going on this weekend. Whitecaps in town. They're playing Lansing. Both the Whitecaps and Lansing have great records. Whitecaps lost yesterday, but we'll see if they can pull out a win tonight. Game starts at 6:35. Should be sunny at game time and about 65 degrees. So maybe a light jacket. As the game goes on, it may get a little cooler than that. Riverbank run, partly cloudy, 15% chance of a very light shower. Runners won't even hardly notice that. Temperatures start out pretty cool at 45, but the runners like that. The last thing they want is to have a 90-degree day. We've had some days around 85 to 90 this time of year, but not so on Saturday. Temperatures will be pretty seasonable. By the time we get to 10 a.m., 58 degrees. Now, if I were running, I probably wouldn't finish until Tuesday. I'd stop and smell the flowers. But the wind should be fairly light, and you're going against the wind a little bit going out. You're going out southwest and then coming back to the northeast. So it should be a great race. And if you can't run, go down and cheer the runners on. And we have the Tulip Time Parade here on Saturday. This is the Folks Parade. There used to be 3 parades. The Folks Parade was Wednesday, and they combined that with the Music Parade to have the big parade here on Saturday. It usually lasts 2 hours. And it should be a great day for that with mostly sunny skies. I think you're inland far enough that there won't be a lot of lake cooling. Temperatures here should be up into the low to mid 60s during the afternoon. So maybe a light jacket. And with all that sunshine, make sure you grab some sunblock, especially for the fair-haired people and people that might want to be out there in the sun a long time. Peak sun solar noon is about 1:45 in the afternoon. So that period from noon to 3 is when the sun is up pretty high in the sky. But great weather for all the activities going on. A lot of rain expected in the southeastern U.S. That red color in the Florida panhandle there is where they expect about 2 to 4 inches of rain. Not a lot of severe weather, but rain, as you can see. And there's some of the rainfall totals, 24-hour rainfall totals. A couple spots in Louisiana picking up 7 inches of rain. That's a lot of rain. And you can see the rain that's going to be falling in South Texas. They could use some there. And also in the Northeast, look at the rain for places like New York City and Boston, all the way up into the state of Maine. Some scattered rain out through the west, but look at how white it is in lower Michigan, and that means that there's no rain expected here, at least no measurable rain across most of the area. Hardly any snow will fall in Michigan. That's the least amount of snow. It was confined to one state will be seeing some snow, the highest mountains of Colorado. And I thought you might want to take a look at Mount Rainier National Park. If you look straight ahead toward the middle of that slide, you'll see what looks like some really small trees. Those are actually some fairly tall trees, and they're just buried by the snow. The snow there is about 2 stories high. And it was a beautiful day out there. You don't get too many days out there in Washington State where it's totally clear like that. But a lot of snow out there left to melt. And you'll still see snow in the mountains throughout the year. There'll be snow on the mountain there. We'll be able to show you a picture of that in August and probably early September. All right, let's go on and show you the forecast for the day today. Big 30-degree warm-up expected, 65 this afternoon, 35 during the early morning. We will be seeing humidity levels drop to about 35%. The wind should be light, so the fire danger should still be on the low side. But it should be a great day with lots of sunshine, and it will be cooler near Lake Michigan with the light winds like that. The winds will turn west off the lake. I would imagine at mid-afternoon, it may only be in the low 50s walking the piers out on Lake Michigan. So instead of 65, you'll be around 50 to 52. Okay, high temperatures here on the day today. This is kind of neat. Look at the temperatures about mid-60s for Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Three Rivers. All about the same in inland areas. In fact, the computer's got Big Rapids at several degrees warmer than Three Rivers, and that may very well turn out to be the case. It will be cooler near Lake Michigan. You can see the estimated temperatures out over mid-lake only in the mid to upper 40s there, and that's probably correct. Note the temperatures at South Haven. South Haven is closer to the to Lake Michigan, and because of that, it's cooler there. Their temperatures in mid-afternoon expected to be about 10 degrees cooler than inland areas. We'll take a look at Saturday's high temperatures and show you that we bounce up into the low to mid 70s in inland areas. South Haven at 55. So again, if you're right by the water, The city of South Haven is pretty close to the water there. You will find cooler temperatures there, but still a very fine day. 70 for Big Rapids, a little cooler, 60 for Traverse City. And the outlook here for the day on Sunday calls for temperatures to be in the mid 70s. Again, it will be cooler near the lake, mid 60s there, about 10 degrees cooler. And the cool conditions will be the case over by the Lake Huron shoreline as well. So let's take a look at the forecast out to 5 days. 65 today, 72 on Saturday. We'll be in the 70s, low to mid 70s on Sunday. A beautiful day for Mother's Day. And we'll see partly sunny to mostly sunny skies on Monday. And then our first chance of a shower is Tuesday. And that's probably about 50-50. So we may get through Tuesday without any rain. We will be knocking on the door of 80 degrees in inland areas here Monday and Tuesday afternoon. We've been watching the 8 to 14-day forecast, and that shows the warmest air retreating toward the east here during the second half of that period. So I would imagine by the time we get to that second half, that 19th, 20, 21, 22 in there, we'll likely be seeing as temperatures cool off a little bit. In the meantime, we'll probably, during the early part of that period, hit a couple of days close to 80. But then the cooler air will start to move in. You can see the warmer air starting to build out in the west once again. And in terms of rainfall, rainfall should be a touch above average here, but not very many hours of rain. This is a pattern where you get not an all-day rain, but passing shower or thunder shower, and then things quiet down here for a while. So all in all, a great weather pattern here for spring. Not a lot of severe weather here, and not a lot of severe weather in the country. A lot of sunshine. Like I said, keep the sunblock handy, especially if you're fair-skinned.
And confetti.
You'd say something.
Cumpleaños Sati. Feliz cumpleaños Sati. Feliz cumpleaños. El mejor meteorológico muy viejo. Feliz cumpleaños Sati.
Now the Pope got that, but I didn't. Okay.
El mejor meteorológico muy viejo. The best meteorologist, very old.
Woohoo! Neat. And look at that. I had that even at 1 year old, I had that TV smile going, didn't I?
I have a picture of myself in the high chair enjoying a bowl of spaghetti, and it was like all over sticking to my face and whatever. And if I didn't look exactly like you in this picture.
Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a happy childhood. I had a lot of fun things. We didn't have a lot of money at the time. We had a little 4-room apartment in Evanston, Illinois, as I was growing up. The first 3.5 years I lived in Evanston, and then we moved up to Wilmette, the next town to the north. But it was a fun growing up, and I remember birthday parties. In fact, I remember a birthday party where my dad said I could take as many people as could fit in the station wagon, and we would go down to the Museum of Science and Industry, which I thought was the coolest place in all of Chicago.
And this was before seatbelt laws got serious, so you could really pack in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a look at your childhood.
Okay, that's me. That's me in the back. Got the bow tie going there. I had that. That was. I even learned how to clip that on too. That was interesting. My brother Dave with the bow tie. He became one of the top guitarists in all of Chicago. My father and my mother and my sister Ann, who was born in 1959. I was born in 51, so Ann was just a baby back then. Yeah, we had a good time growing up, and that is Christmas. I remember the dog Woofy that my sister got. Dave, the one toy he wanted was a Stratocaster guitar, and he finally got his Stratocaster guitar, and he was happy. But we had the tree there. We would always go down and get a tree the day before Christmas, and we would my dad would barter with Mr. Huffman. And my dad would say, "Come on, you're not going to sell any of these trees. Come on, $2. Just let me take this one over here." And that's how we did it. And one year, my father actually got a tree from one of the fraternities down at Northwestern. They would do a tree and do it through the month of November, and then right before spring break or winter break, when everybody left, they would take the ornaments off the tree and throw it on the curb. And so if somebody was looking for a tree, they could go down there and pick one up for free. So interesting.
So you might as well.
Yeah, might as well. The tree just smelled of beer. It was okay. That was neat. That is, we're a little older here now. That looks like some pretty flowers there.
Mhm.
We love flowers, and there
You're
I
all
am.
dressed up for something on the right.
That was a two-toned cowboy shirt of some kind. And the picture on the right was taken in the Rose Garden, which is across from St. Mary's Church, where my mother was one of the lead sopranos in the choir. And we would go there and have, I believe that's what it is. I can't really tell in the back. Maybe that could even be our backyard. I can't really tell back there. Maybe that's not the Rose Garden. I am dressed in all white. I'm like the man from Glad or something like that there. Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
That might have been my confirmation. I'm not sure. Do I look like I'm in about second grade or third grade or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah, about.
And my mother, that's back when everybody wore hats. My dad had his fedora, and my mother had a collection of hats, whatnot. But yeah.
And now
There
we
we
fast
are.
forward many years.
Yeah, that's my father, my mother, me without the gray hair and the thick glasses and the mustache. Always had the mustache.
And this was at Silver Lake at Floridale because we're all wearing our badges.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I didn't notice that. Yeah, Ed and Dolores Bauer ran the Floridale Resort for many years up there. They've passed away here and lived into their 90s, both of them. He was a pilot and operated a duck. You know, there's an amphibious vehicle they rode across to the dunes. And we had a lot of fun up there. We really did. And what does your shirt say? Can you read that?
West Side Christian. That was our elementary school.
Oh, okay. And the barrettes in your hair matched.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty cool. Yeah, we had a great time. We came up there once to stay in a cottage, and we were in a little cottage there. And we got there, and there was a squirrel in the cottage running around.
That'll happen.
My dad evacuated everybody, and he went in to shoo the squirrel out. But that was no extra charge for that.
Before we go any further, while I'm thinking about it, we don't know what we're doing for a show tomorrow because Bill is going to be partying on till the break of dawn at the Best of Grand Rapids party tomorrow night on his birthday. So
Yes.
he's going to be a little bit preoccupied. So I don't know if we're just going to put up the 5-day with some background music and call it a day or not even do that, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, yeah. If I can throw something together early, the weather pattern is pretty easy to forecast. Or you can come back and watch this twice.
And I have to work, which is kind of the story of my life, but I always have to work.
Yeah, but we had fun up there at Floridale.
Okay, so I thought we would have a little 1951 quiz and see what you know about the year that Bill joined the world. Okay, so what was the price of a gallon of gas in 1951?
Okay, now I could not wait until I got my driver's license so I could take a girl out on a date. Okay, but then I was 16. So when I was 16, the cheapest gas I bought was 29 cents and 9 tenths is what they did back then. And so let's see, we're talking, you know, that was me. Would have been 16 in 1967.
Mm-hmm.
So if the lowest was 29, but that wasn't the average. The average was higher than that.
And
all right, let's go with 20 cents. How's that?
You were very close.
Okay. Wow, that surprises me that it was that high.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
And 341. Who was president in 1951? All right, there was an election in 52 that Eisenhower won. So before that was President Harry S. Truman. Does that sound right? Yes,
very
indeed.
good. He was president from 1943 to 1953. Sorry?
I said the S stood for nothing. He did not have a middle name. He just had an initial. Who was Pope in 1951? Pius the 12th, maybe?
Very good. I'm impressed.
Okay, how about that?
Yes,
Yeah,
and now we have a Pope that's a White Sox fan, and Grandma would be so happy.
Yes, indeed, that is true. We're learning more about him. He is indeed a White Sox fan. He's a good tennis player, from what I'm told. Even at 69 years old, he's an excellent tennis player, and he speaks 5 languages and all kinds of stuff.
So he understood my Spanish happy birthday.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah. Let's see. What was the U.S. population in 1951? Well, we're at about 330 million today, and it's held pretty steady, except for immigration over the past several years. Oh, let's see. People were having big families back in the 50s. Let's go 200 million.
Very close.
Yeah, 153.9. So
You're doing awesome.
okay. Who was mayor of Chicago in 1951? Golly, let's see. There were the Dailies. There were Harold Washington, Jane Byrne. There was a guy whose name ended with Balandic, maybe, or some of the guy that couldn't make the snowplows run on time during the '67 blizzard. I will say that was part of the Boss Daily, Richard J. Daly.
One before him.
One before him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And for those of you watching along at home, all the Chicago questions, Bill's from Chicago. My mom's side of the family's from there too. So 2 trips a year, every year, my entire childhood. And Dan tells me to stop pretending that I'm from there. I love Chicago. It's an amazing place. So we love Chicago too on this show. Yeah,
it really is. It is an amazing place, the skyscrapers and everything. And my dad is from Chicago. His parents were both born in Luxembourg, and then they came to settle in Chicago because there were Luxembourgers there. But my grandparents very quickly assimilated. Mm-hmm. They didn't want anybody talking Luxembourger, and I think after World War I and the Germans, they didn't want anybody talking German.
And great grandpa went and knocked on great grandma's door and said, "I heard someone from Luxembourg lives here."
Yes. A girl from Luxembourg. He had heard a girl from Luxembourg lived about a mile away, and he just went and knocked on the door and asked if he could say hello.
Sometimes you got to take initiative.
8 kids. And my dad was the youngest of 8 kids.
Who was mayor before Daly?
It wasn't Cermak. That's back there. It was somewhere between Cermak and Daly. I don't know. I give up. Who was it? Kennelly. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, he doesn't quite ring a bell.
And Daly died in office, is that correct?
All I know about Kennelly is he was a Democrat. Chicago hasn't had a Republican mayor for umpteen years. The Democrats and Republicans got along for a while there, and then the Republicans, I guess, moved out to the suburbs. Whatnot. 1951 quiz.
Moving on to business. This company was originally founded in 1951. It started as Geophysical Services Incorporated, building electronics to search for oil. Today, they do so much more than make calculators for advanced math classes. They design, manufacture, and sell semiconductors in more than 25 countries.
I will guess Texas Instruments.
Very good.
Neat. Yeah, I had a Texas Instrument calculator.
And they were doing the semiconductor stuff before 1951, but it officially became Texas Instruments in 1951.
And that I grew up in a time when I was a little kid where they were moving away from slide rules to calculators. And my father was so geek because my dad was a liaison engineer and he was proficient on a slide rule, but he would get a piece of new technology, whether it was like a microwave oven or a cell phone. My dad bought a cell phone when they first came out, and this thing was like in a suitcase. It was a great big boxy thing that you would drag around with you. And I kept thinking, why would you want to drag around something like that? And nowadays you got, something like this that fits right in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Did Jewel food stores exist in 1951?
Boy, we went to Jewel's as a kid. There was a Jewel that was about 3 blocks away from me.
It was a staple of visiting Grandma and Grandpa Steffen. They would run off to the Jewel when they needed this or that.
Right. And Osco was a drugstore that was inside the Jewel, which is kind of like the drugstores they have inside Walmarts today. Mm-hmm. We used to go to the High-Low down on Green Bay Road. There wasn't a lot of retail in Wilmette. You had to kind of go over to Skokie to get more retail. But I'll guess yes. I'll guess that there was a Jewel then.
Correct. They dated to 1932. The company started as the Jewel Tea Company, selling tea and coffee from horse-drawn wagons as far back as 1899. And in 1962, they partnered with Osco to create the Jewel Osco food and drugstore combo.
Right, and they eventually dropped an L from the Jewel because it was 2 L's, wasn't it, at one point in time? And then it was 1 L, if I remember right.
Well, at one point in this, I switch over to using 2 L's, so we'll go with yes.
Okay, and what else can I tell you about Jewel? Yeah, it was we used to go there and go shopping and get our food there.
Mm-hmm.
There was
Okay,
an
this airport was built in 1951. It's named after Ted Stevens, a former senator of the state. The airport code is ANC, and the picture should be a clue.
that is Anchorage,
Yay.
Alaska, where I was up there. And 51, that makes it a relatively new airport. There was a military airport there, I thought. Anchorage, by the way, Alaska in general had when it became a state, it did not have many people living in it. I think it had like 300,000 people for the entire state. Pretty amazing.
And Bill is going to the Canadian Rockies this summer, and it is not too late for you to join holidayvacations.com, holidayvacations.com, and see how you can join Bill and other travelers from West Michigan in the Canadian Rockies later this summer.
Sure. Free weather forecasts on the trip.
This airport was opened in 1951, but there was no terminal until 1954. Its airport code is FAI, and the picture is a clue.
Yes. The picture is from Juneau, Alaska, but the airport code FAI is for Fairbanks, Alaska.
Very good. It is
You
Fairbanks.
saw the sun did dip below the horizon, but there was pretty thick twilight all night long. And I was just amazed.
So
I went for a walk through town at 2:00 in the morning, and you could see just fine. It was a pretty thick twilight. There was only one other person in downtown Fairbanks.
So Bill has been to Alaska twice. The first time with me, and all we did was fly to Juneau, and I think we only did one full day on the ground. And then the other time he did a holiday vacations tour, and you flew into Anchorage, correct?
Yeah, both amazing trips. Absolutely amazing trips.
Yep, they're all special in their own way.
Yeah, I mean, we've had good weather and everything. Who won the World Series in 1951? Well, let's start with either the Yankees or the Dodgers. We'll go with the Yankees because they had so many good players back then. Yogi Berra.
These are just random pictures that I found that were in the public domain. So, yay, the Yankees.
We got Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle in the middle, three of the greatest baseball players of all time. And of course, there were all the yogi-isms like, the game's not over until it's over and that kind of stuff like that. Interesting. But yeah, the Yankees had many championships teams back then, including Babe Ruth, who of course played for Boston and then the Yankees, I believe.
On February 27, 1951, U.S. states ratified the 22nd Amendment. The amendment prevents any U.S. president from tying Franklin D. Roosevelt's record. What does the amendment prohibit?
Prohibits a president from seeking a third term.
Yes, and I read it. It's very interesting. It prohibits more than 2 elections and more than 10 total years of service. So if you take over for the sitting president with less than 2 years left in the term, you can actually still be elected twice.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I don't know if you know this or not. Just a question I had. I believe Governor Engler, when he was here, had 3 elections. Could you at the time run for governor for 3 terms back then, or how did that work out?
I don't know. Let's look it up and we'll talk about it on another show.
Okay, because he ran against Wolpe and he ran against Feiger, and he beat Blanchard to become governor. So interesting. And Scott Walker, of course, had a recall election, which he beat back in Wisconsin, but he had 3 elections there too. But yeah, Roosevelt was president from 1933 to 1945. And a lot of people wanted the continuity of having the same president while the war was going on. And of course, Roosevelt's health was deteriorating as we got into, 44 and 45 and whatnot. So
1951 was the first year of these. They informed what TV shows were canceled and which were renewed. They determined what local TV stations decided to charge for ad time. They were the basis for local TV personalities to throw shade.
I think the cat knows the answer.
Yes.
Ask your cat.
The cat's having a great time. Ollie, what do you think? We're out on the catio, so he's living his best life.
Any geckos out there for him to chase?
He's looking at the ceiling fan thinking, I could jump on that. I could make it. I might. I'm thinking about it. Okay. So
it was the first year of these. They informed what TV shows were canceled and renewed. They determined what local TV stations charge for ad time.
they informed it.
I would guess that would be the Nielsen ratings. And it is. Now let me stop and let me tell you something very interesting. Arthur
Go ahead.
Nielsen was in the same class as my mother at New Trier East High School. And she
Wow.
sat right behind him in a couple of classes. Arthur C. Nielsen, I believe. Yeah, isn't that interesting? And that because Arthur Nielsen is from the Chicago area, from Wilmette, Winnetka up there, and my mother said he was in the chair right in front of me.
And went on to that influential career in statistics.
Right, and
Wow.
and everything lived or died by the Nielsen ratings, and he was good at what he did, so there wasn't any competition for a long time. Then there was Arbitron came on as competition, and
I remember you coming home and talking about him.
yeah. In fact, I still have some old Nielsen ratings that I saved just for posterity, down in the basement somewhere. Like I saved just about everything. Michelle will tell you about that. The clutter.
Okay. On March 29, 1951, this Rodgers and Hammerstein musical opened on Broadway. Yul Brynner played the king.
That was The King and I. Yes, and look.
And look what I found.
Oh my goodness! It is Michelle who was in the cast of King and I at Civic Theater.
In 1996, I was in the 8th grade.
Wow.
And that makeup took about an hour to do before every show.
The King was from Thailand, and I forget who played the female lead in The King and I. Do you remember the movie?
Mm-mm.
And Yul Brynner tragically got cancer from cigarette smoking and made some television ads to discourage people from starting to smoke. I remember that. And he was Yul Brynner was also the Pharaoh in the Ten Commandments movie. So interesting. Wow, a lot of interesting things there.
Yeah.
Well, hey,
Happy birthday
to me, and happy birthday to daughter number 2, who is also having a birthday today. My daughter Marie was born 30 years to the hour after I was born. So
Fun fact.
Interesting.
That's how I remember your birthday. It's my age plus 1 plus 30, and then figuring out where Marie's was. Her being on the same day as you is very helpful to keep track.
Well, I've always liked numbers, but you girls have always liked numbers. I mean, you girls all rock through the ACT and and I don't know how many of you took the SAT, but I took the SAT and did very well in math and science.
Nope, I didn't take the SAT.
Oh, okay. And then everything went to the ACT.
Down here, I think the SAT might be more popular. I don't know. Well, anyways, happy birthday. I hope
Thank you so much. Yeah,
like
we got
I don't know what we're
tonight, and we got a dinner to go to Saturday night, so should have a fun couple of days.
Yeah, so I don't know what we're doing for the show because Dad's going to be out having way too much fun to figure out what's going on with this. So I don't know if you'll hear from us or not. We'll see.
Right. Sounds good. All right, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks so much for staying with us till the very end. I hope you have yourself a great day today and a super weekend.